I was 16 the first time I truly felt hunted. It happened during the summer before my junior year, a time when late-night walks felt like freedom rather than a risk. My best friend Ethan and I lived in a quiet, gated community, a place where nothing bad ever happened. Our biggest worry was sneaking back home without waking our parents, not disappearing into the night. That night, I was walking home alone from Ethan's house after an evening of video games and junk food. The streets were empty, bathed in the dim glow of old streetlights, and the only sound was the occasional rustling of leaves in the warm night breeze. Then I heard something, a soft shuffle. Not the wind, not an animal. Footsteps. I stopped, my heart pounding. I turned my head slightly but didn't stop walking. No one was there. I shook it off and picked up my pace, only to hear it again, closer this time. I spun around, still nothing, just the row of neatly trimmed hedges lining the sidewalk and the darkened houses beyond. The neighborhood felt too quiet, like the world was holding its breath. My gut told me to run, but my brain told me I was being stupid. So I did the next best thing. I pulled out my phone and called Ethan. "Dude," I whispered, "I think someone's following me." Ethan chuckled. "You've been watching too many horror movies, man." I was about to argue when Ethan suddenly stopped laughing. Are you still outside?" he asked. "Yeah, why?" There was a pause. "I just checked my security cameras. Bro, there's someone on the sidewalk near my house." A chill ran down my spine. I turned around one last time. This time, I saw him. A tall man stood about 30 feet behind me, barely visible in the dim light. He was wearing dark clothes and a hood pulled low over his face. His stance was unnatural, slightly hunched, like he was waiting for something. I didn't wait to find out what. I bolted. I heard footsteps pounding behind me. He was chasing me. I sprinted toward my house, barely registering Ethan shouting through the phone. My lungs burned, my legs ached, but I didn't stop, not even when I reached my driveway. I scrambled for my keys with shaking hands, practically throwing myself inside and slamming the door shut. Silence. I turned off all the lights and peeked through the blinds, trying to control my breathing. He was standing in my front yard, not running, not knocking, just standing there, staring at my house. Then he walked away. I didn't sleep that night. 2 weeks later, I thought it was over. I told myself it was some creepy guy trying to mess with me. Maybe a drunk stranger who took a wrong turn. Maybe. Then one night, my parents went out to dinner, leaving me home alone. I was in the living room, watching TV with the lights off, when I noticed something off. My back door was slightly open. I knew I locked it. I was sure I locked it. I grabbed the nearest thing I could use as a weapon, a fireplace poker, and crept toward the door. My pulse was deafening in my ears. I nudged it open wider, expecting to see nothing. Instead, I saw footprints in the dirt outside. Fresh ones. Someone had been inside. A new sound made my stomach drop, a soft shuffle. But this time, it came from inside the house. I turned around, slowly, gripping the poker so hard my knuckles turned white. The hallway was pitch black, but I could feel someone standing there. A breath, not mine, echoed in the silence. And then, my phone vibrated in my pocket. The screen lit up with a single text, from an unknown number. "I see you." The hallway creaked. That was the last thing I remembered before everything went black. When I woke up, I was lying on the floor. The front door was wide open. My parents were standing over me, shaking me awake. Nothing was stolen, no one was there. But when we checked the security footage, we saw him. The man in the hood, standing just inside my doorway, watching me. He had been there for over an hour before I even realized it. And as I lay unconscious, the cameras caught one last thing. Him walking out. But before he left, he turned to the camera and smiled. To this day, I have no idea who he was. I never saw his face. I never saw him again. But sometimes, late at night, I swear, I still hear footsteps outside my window.